Hey everybody, how's it going? This is Jackie Van Ham,
I'm Josh Roki.
and you are watching On the Throttle with Jackie and Josh. Welcome back to today's show, everybody. Episode two out here of our live broadcast, our live video podcast, as it were, talking about what's good and what's going on out here in motorcycling and power sports. What's going on with today's show, Josh?
We've got some great topics that I'm excited to get into because I think a few of these we're going to maybe see things differently. Not that we've ever done that before. One of
You and I
which is
see
the
things
return.
differently?
Yeah,
Never.
imagine that. Return of Buell is one that I'm excited to get into. Kawasaki had five new or upgraded models that they just released. There was the US Moto Gp news roundup, which had some really cool stories in it. And then Ducati, I like to say, Ducati announced a bunch of announcements, which there's a lot to unpack there too. So that some great other stuff that we've got. So yeah.
Well, go on. Let's go on ahead then, and let's go get on the throttle with the first story for today that we're going to talk about. And this first story, and again, both of my segments for today's show are stories within stories within stories, because this was just announced a handful of weeks ago that the return of Buell, that's right, the cat with nine lives, also known as the brand Buell, is back. So the whole Buell story and the fact that it's been relaunched and rebranded and purchased and sold and overseas and here in the US and it's been all over the place. Well, they are back. So their next incarnation of Buell is happening. Buell Hammerhead production begins November 1st, but that's just the beginning. The Buell Motorcycle Company's comeback is ready to begin, with the revived brand announcing production of the new 2022 Hammerhead 1190 Superbike set to begin on November 1st. Based on the EBR 1190RX, the Hammerhead will be produced in Grand Rapids, Michigan, and offered through an online reservation and delivery system called Buell Vana, and which the company will detail further on October 21st. So here in the next week or so, they're going to be launching that website, letting people know how they can pre-order these bikes. They'll be going into production in Michigan, a very cool thing. So, building bikes in the US, super awesome. But it's just a super interesting story because Buell has nothing to do with this new version of Buell anymore. Eric Buell actually, several years ago, jumped into a new company. That's right, the cat with nine lives is on life number 7 or 8 now, and he is making e-bikes called Fuel, which I think is genius. I think that name is awesome. I think it's hilarious. I mean, if your last name is Buell, calling something Fuel, I think is just a riot. And the fact that it's e-bike makes it even more ironic and funny to me. So the thing that's kind of interesting about this story is, again, Buell is back, kind of, but Eric Buell isn't involved, but they're building bikes in the US. So it's got kind of like mixed emotions for me as far as using the Buell name. But anyway, like I said, he's doing his own project. It's called Fuel. It is super awesome. Um, and while the Buell press release was sparse on further details about new models, we've uncovered some information that sheds some light on the brand's rebirth, including what might be its new logo, which they're using a Pegasus logo again. There's a couple of beautiful bikes. I think we've got some slides coming up here in just 1 second. A new Buell will be a new Blast would be a logical step. And then also this beautiful bike that's on your screen right now is the Buell 1190 Super Touring Adventure bike is in the works, with Buell targeting a 2023 release. So there's just that little dark, super shadowy teaser photo floating around of this very cool looking, potentially could be an adventure bike coming from this new Buell relaunch. Another interesting bike that they're kind of speculating might be happening would be another version of the Blast, which is that single cylinder. And I think we've got that slide. There it is, which is a single cylinder, kind of a little naked sport bike guy. They're just referencing that would make total sense. Would be a logical step in any Buell revival. With the company announcing earlier this year, it would expand to offer medium and small displacement models. Buell has also already hinted at the Baja name for a future adventure bike, which we just talked about. Super Cruiser is a relatively plain sounding name, but then you could say the same about the planned super touring model. Um, the new parent company of this whole kit and caboodle is Liquid Performance, who bought out all of the intellectual property and actually the machinery and the factory and all that stuff years ago. So they are going to be relaunching this name, I think, for the second or third time now. So God bless. I'm excited to see what happens. The bikes look great. Hopefully they'll have better luck. Fingers crossed. But getting into the adventure market, especially with that beautiful shadowy adventure looking bike that they're teasing out, is never a bad idea, man. Adventure bikes so hot right now, right, Josh?
They are. And so, but there's two things. And the one that I kind of like with this, with Eric Buell being kind of in that e-bike space, I mean, he was always just been an innovator. So for that's going to be a great role for him. I mean, that's just where he's going to be. I mean, he's always kind of been the square peg. Doesn't fit in the round hole, but I mean, man, fills a great niche. As far as Buell, I keep making these parallels to Indian. How many times was that name bought, sold, transferred to 52 different countries before it finally stuck?
Yeah.
Is this what makes Buell stick, the name stick? I mean, they made some phenomenal bikes. I'm part of one of the Buell groups online, and they've got phenomenal bikes. They've got a phenomenal fan base. So what's it gonna take to make this stick? I'm hoping this is it.
Yeah, definitely. Me too. Fingers crossed. Like I said, all the teasers and all the previous incarnations of this Buell name, the bikes have always been rad. It's just been
Yeah.
really troubled with these kind of shadowy, shady business maneuvers that end up putting the kibosh on that brand. But you're right. Maybe this is another version of Indian Motorcycle, which had I think the last time I tried to count, I think it had like seven. It had the paddles put on it and jump started 7 different times until it finally stuck because Polaris showed up with the deep pockets. I do think we've got a slide also of the e-bike, that the Fuel bike. I think I sent that along. If Ashley's got it, it's an e-bike from Fuel. So I'll see if she can show that up on the screen here in just a second. But that's what's going on with the folks over at Buell. So I just wanted, there we go. That's it. So there's this, and then he's also getting into the e-bicycle, more of like a bicycle-y looking
Yeah.
e-bike as well. But just stunning. Look at that. That is Eric Buell design in a nutshell. Look how dead sexy that is. He just crushes beautiful, beautiful high performance, sexy sport bike. I mean, I'm here for it, Eric Buell. I'm here for you. I'm here for you. I'm on board. All right. So next topic coming up, Josh. What do you got going on? I think you wanted to talk a little bit about what's going on over at Team Green.
Yes. So Kawasaki had a big announcement that, I mean, a lot of people on the West Coast had to get up at 6 o'clock in the morning to see the reveal. Thankfully, it was 9 o'clock here. So I got to just kind of wake up leisurely and see it. So there was a few things that came out of this. So one of them is the KX 450 SR. This is a very cool dirt bike that basically the way that I'm looking at it is Kawasaki sends this to the dealer the way you're going to make it in a year. When you go through and you've chucked it off a cliff, you've chucked it into trees, you've chucked it at the scenery multiple times, the things that you've changed that you're going to fix, the things that you're going to add to it, whether it be the wheels, whether it be the clutch cover, whether it be the exhaust, the upgraded suspension. So basically what Kawasaki's done says, look, we know you're going to do this all in the year. So the bike came from the factory this way. There is a ton of great stuff on this bike. It's a laundry list of stuff that people are going to do probably down the road anyways. Now, they're still going to offer the 450 in normal trim for those of us that don't have this addiction to spending the entire time in the garage. On top of that, a big announcement was the upgrade to the Ultra line of jet skis. There is now the Ultra 310, which has the X, the LXS, and the LX. 3 different trim levels depending on what you want. I know there's people that kind of look or don't look at the PWC industry as much, but this has a 1.5 liter supercharged engine in it that is basically, it is about as sleeve stretching as you're going to get right now. And the Kawasaki Ultras have been that way for decades. If you wanted to add sleeve length, you just got a Kawasaki Ultra of some sort and went that way. It's a 22.5-degree deep V hull. It's got their smart reverse with deceleration. There's more functional storage. There's a 7-inch display. The other thing is, if you look at the picture that we've got up right now, there's actually LED lights in the front of it there that are designed to look kind of like headlights. Now, they aren't functional headlights. PWCs don't take them out at night, but it gives it a really great and aggressive look like most cars have out there now. This is one that I am excited to see hit the water. It's coming soon. I didn't catch the date, but it's one of those things where, like I said, I mean, the arm snapping, neck snapping horsepower out of these things is amazing. And Kawasaki has been in this game. And I mean, I'm looking forward to this hitting the showroom floor. Another one that I'm really excited about that they announced, the KLX 230S. So I remember way back in the day, and you probably remember this too, Jacqui, is remember the KDX 200 and then the KDX 220? Right. So, I mean, we all loved these Woods bikes. And I mean, they were just, yes, they were amazing. So the thing that I like about this new 230S is you can get it with or without ABS. So Kawasaki has kind of taken this Swiss Army knife / anvil. And I say Swiss Army knife / anvil because these bikes in this 230cc range, you can do absolutely anything you want to with them. They will climb that stupid hill. They will go down that stupid hill, but they're not intimidating for newer riders. In fact, I was just on a dual sport ride this weekend. There was 2 guys on older KLX 250s. You know what I mean? So, I mean, they're not intimidating, but you can still go out and have fun with them. I also say anvil because this is old 4-stroke, I mean, air-cooled, just I mean, as reliable as an anvil. It's not going to break. You cannot break this. So ride the wheels off of it for 50,000 miles and then give it to the next person that's going to ride it for the next 50,000 miles. So this is another one that I'm really excited about. To me, Kawasaki's, I mean, they've always had that big horsepower push and that, hey, and I mean, even when you look back to like the old Z series bikes and I mean, I remember the reincarnation of the ZRX and stuff like that. Kawasaki's always had horsepower on their side. And I think it's awesome that they still are able to play on that, but they do things to also make sure that they can grab those other audiences. So to me, I mean, like which one, like when you look, there's that Z900, the Z900 RS SE, and then the Z650 RS. So these are these bikes that are what I like to call the universal Japanese motorcycles. Go anywhere, kind of do anything, obviously, as long as it's paved. But they want to go to the grocery store, take the bike. Want to go just visit friends, take the bike. And they look great. To me, knowing you, is there one of those that is interesting to you?
Oh gosh, yeah. No, I totally agree with you. I really enjoyed Kawasaki lineup, and you nailed it just a second ago with they dabble in everything. You know, they have these super crazy high horsepower for like speed freak bikes, and then they do watercraft, and then they do dirt bikes, and then they do these beautiful retro series of bikes. I totally agree. I'm a fan of Team Green. I like that W800 an awful lot. I like that RS, that retro bike a lot. I agree with you. I think that they do everything and they do it well. I mean, it's just they're always doing cool stuff. I'm a big fan. Like I said, I actually do have a vintage K Dixer in my garage, and you had a really good comment about that too. It is a great Swiss Army knife. It is bulletproof, and it will really do almost anything I ask it to do. And we go ride woods and we do hills, and it's tame and smooth power and all that jazz. So I am a big fan of Team Green. I'm excited to see some of these rad dirt bikes that they just released as well. So I appreciate you jumping on in here and showing us what's going on with our friends over at Kawasaki. So the next thing that I wanted to talk about, if you did you have any other Cowie news for us?
No, I've got one other question on that let's talk about this one for a second. So, do you think Cowie's at the forefront or reacting?
That's a really good question. I honestly don't know. I don't think of them as being like a reactive company because
I don't
they've
either.
been around so long and they just stay in their lane and they make, pun intended, that was a great, very soft dad joke I just threw out there. Anyway, they stay in their lane, they do what they do, and they kind of are, they're timeless, literally. They're
Yeah.
always just making just lovely products that do a little bit of everything. I like that they dabble now in like almost every single genre, big bike to little bike, watercraft. They do all the stuff. So I don't think that they're reactive at all. I think they're just always kind of progressing, and they're just marching on and doing their thing over there. I don't see them really chasing trends. I
I
see them
agree.
just recreating and following their own path, and if anything, occasionally reaching back into their DNA and pulling some of that stuff forward, like the
Yeah.
W800s, like that RS bike, like the what else am I thinking? Like the dirt bikes. This is just stuff that's in their nature anyway, and they're just always kind of tweaking it and just cruising on forward with it.
That's kind of what I was hoping that. I mean, look at that, we agree. Is to me what's so funny about Kawasaki is that they've always done their thing and it works. And that's one of the reasons why I love them. And you hit the head of the nail there. They don't chase trends. There are, I mean, look, when you look out there, you can see the trends and what's happening with stuff. And then you can see there's just a flood of a certain type of bike that's going to hit the market for the next 4 years, and it's going to become a very crowded space. Kawasaki's like, look, that's great, sure, but look at what we've done here. You like this because it's genuine, it's what we like, it's a great motorcycle. Buy it on that, not because it's a trend chaser.
Yeah, definitely. I totally agree. So, my next topic that I wanted to bring up and talk about a little bit today, again, is a story within a story within a story. It's a whole Russian nesting doll of motorcycle information. And that was, I wanted to talk a little bit about the MotoGP that just happened about 2 weeks ago now here in the United States. That's right. MotoGP is back here in the US after a very, very rocky 2020 for literally everybody all over the place. They canceled their U.S. round. They finally came back. It was pushed. It was supposed to happen in the spring, like it always does, and they were gonna cancel it. And then a round got dropped in Japan, and so they finally added it back on the calendar here. Anyway, it was just super cuckoo crazy. I literally forgot it was even here until it was happening, and then by that time it was too late for me to go. Anyway, um, no big shock. Marc Marquez, spoiler alert for literally nobody that watches MotoGP, Marc Marquez won at Circuit of the Americas. That's right. The Coda Cowboy ended up winning at Circuit of the America, as he has done for the past 7 or 8 years. I mean, I love Coda. I love that weekend when they host it in the spring. It also is the same weekend as a really great custom bike show called the Hand Built Show. And literally anybody that's in motorcycling goes to Austin, Texas during that weekend in April. But I got to tell you, the race is boring. It's literally boring as can be because Marc Marquez is going to win. And he does every single year. So you may as well bring a book or a magazine, find something else to do. I tease, I kid. It's a beautiful, brilliant day, and it's always a fun time to go to Circuit of the Americas. But it is, to be honest, a little bit boring because Marc Marquez wins every year. Anywho, so he did win again. Zero surprises there. A neat thing that happened at the end of the race, however, that I wanted to talk about is that he took his victory lap and had a flag honoring Nicky Hayden, the Kentucky kid. So huge, right in the feels moment from Marc Marquez. Very classy move. Nicky Hayden unfortunately very tragically died in a bicycling accident several years ago. So it was a really, really super touching moment. So it was really neat of Marc Marquez to do that and pay tribute to Nicky Hayden. And while we're talking about Nicky Hayden, at the same same weekend or week that all that was happening at COTA, Nicky Hayden was inducted into the Motorsport Hall of Fame. So I thought that that was really rad. American Honda congratulates Nicky Hayden, or Hayden family, on Nicky Hayden's Motorsport Hall of Fame induction. He was inducted into the Hall of Fame. It was up in Detroit. Just a super touching ceremony. It was really, really cool to pay tribute to him and have him be inducted. They had one of his bikes on display. His whole family was there. The mom, dad, the brothers and sisters, everybody was there to pick up the awesome like plaque and say a few words. Just super, super touching. I thought that that was cool. Nicky Hayden rode for American Honda backed teams in AMA road racing classes between 1999 and 2002, earning the AMA 600 Supersport Championship and AMA Pro Athlete of the Year award in 99, and the AMA Superbike Championship and Daytona 200 win in 2002. During part of that tenure, he also rode Hondas in a scrappy AMA flat track side project, famously joining brothers Tommy and Roger to lead a Hayden family podium sweep of the 2002 Springfield TT. So think of that. All three brothers up on the box during the Springfield TT. I mean, it literally is giving me goosebumps just talking about it. That is something that is unbelievable. It just blows my mind, this incredible family. So American Honda had a really nice article about them, just kind of talking about Nicky's past. So him being inducted was really, really special. Marc Marquez paying tribute was really, really special. And now here on the back end of this whole big awesome conversation is the super weird news that the racers were all over the struggle bus for this year's Circuit of the Americas MotoGP round because this great big huge gorgeous facility that cost bazillions of dollars to make, the track is falling apart. The racers hate it. They're going to boycott, and they're not going back next year unless the track gets fixed. Isn't that unbelievable, Josh? That this relatively new facility that is an absolute stunner, a jewel in the crown in American racing, because of all the extreme weather changes and all the water and hurricanes and heat, it's breaking down the asphalt. It's actually the clay underneath is what's falling apart. And so the asphalt has these crazy, crazy bumps in it. And the racers literally are like they're not going back. Like they've all got together. There was a safety meeting. They said, we're not coming back here, period, end of story. The folks over at usmotorsport.com have a great article about it. MotoGP's return to America for the first time since 2019 has hardly been the positive affair it would have been hoped for, as safety concerns were raised by riders after Friday. The Circuit of the Americas in Texas has notoriously been a bumpy circuit, with numerous riders making calls the track need to be totally resurfaced after a partial job in 2019 failed to solve the issues they'd previously been facing. COTA underwent another partial resurfacing ahead of the 2020 season, with Turn 1, Turn 9, the back straight, and sections later in the lap being repaved. While the back straight has improved, much of the track has worsened, with a number of riders making strong statements after Friday's first two practice sessions. Championship leader Fabio Quartararo likened the surface to a motocross track he would used to train on, branding it a joke and dangerous, with a number of riders echoing his comments. His nearest title rival, Francisco Bagnaia, said the situation MotoGP was facing with COTA's track service was worse than at Silverstone in 2018, when a poorly resurfaced asphalt led to a race being canceled over safety concerns in wet conditions. Aprilia's Alex Espargo went as far to say he doesn't think it's safe enough to race at COTA this Sunday. This was written on Friday, with these safety concerns raised in Friday evening's Rider Safety Commission. But what is causing these track issues? Over the years, the bumpy track surface has been blamed on the fact that the circuit is built on top of clay, which tends to move and shift. When the circuit was hit by an extreme flood in 2015, it damaged some pipes under the surface, and this led to water seeping into the sub base. Beforehand, the issue of bumps wasn't a major concern since the venue first hosted the U.S. Formula One Grand Prix back in 2012. Though the flooding had an impact, this wasn't actually the root cause of the current issues, since contractors can account for the nature of the subsoil a track is laid on when putting down a new asphalt surface. So this is what happened with Silverstone. The surface was laid in 2018 and ultimately led to the cancellation of that year's MotoGP track due to drainage issues because it was incredibly bumpy. So again, like, these racers are absolutely taking to the internet and talking. You can see the slide on your screen right now. Look at the waves that were on that surface. Like, this is crazy. I had no idea it was this bad at Circuit of the Americas. And the racers have all been taking to their very, very public social media accounts and just letting Circuit of the America have it, just putting them on blast about how much they don't like that track surface. So now it's like, the Indy MotoGP got canceled because the riders hated Indy MotoGP because the track there was poopy too. Now they're like hating all over Coda, this beautiful, spectacular, spectacular facility. They're absolutely hating on it, and they're saying that they're not going back. Where are they going racing in the United States, Josh?
So that's, I mean, it's funny. It's a big issue because when you go to the track, you have a certain standard of what you need in order to perform at your top level. The problem is when you're going around a track, bumps are different 2 feet away from each other. So if you're used to your braking marker being at the 100-meter mark, and that's where you're putting on the brakes to turn in, if you're going to pass someone, you need to know how the bike's going to react on that way in. If it's different because the bumps in the track are different, well, then guess what? There is a good chance, I'm going to use my line from earlier, that you're going to chuck it at the scenery. And once again, it does become a safety issue because you just can't account for every single bump in the track on every single inch. So I 100% get this, and I agree. The other thing that kind of plays into that too that isn't always mentioned is the spots that are usually torn up the most are heavy braking zones for Formula One. When you realize those cars put down 4 times what their force is in terms of the ground, or in terms of the contact patch, what their weight is, Formula One rips tracks to shreds. And so most of those areas that are big problems too, Formula One obviously contributes to. Now, is that the case from last year to this year? Probably not 100%, but it plays into it. Going back to the Nicky Hayden thing, one of the things that I always liked is I remember watching him come through the ranks. And it was always such a big deal when you talked about that TT with a flat track experience. Because when you watched him, he raced just a little bit different. And you could see that there was a road racer there that had a flat track background. And he handled the bike different. He pushed it around different. It just looked that little bit different. And that's what made, I mean, a huge part of what he did so special is he brought this different style, this different form. He really changed how Americans were looked at in that type, in that echelon of racing. And that's one of the reasons why I think that tribute too is so fitting. Is it wasn't just that he was a great racer, he did change how it was done. And that to me is just absolutely awesome.
For sure, for sure. God bless Nicky Hayden, a fellow kick-ass Kentuckian. Now, what's going on with the folks over at Ducati?
So Ducati came out with an announcement just a little bit back that said, hey, we've got some announcements. At which point it's kind of like, wait a minute, what? They are announcing they're coming out. Right, we have something to say, and we're gonna. And what's it's one of those things. It's like the little kid before Christmas. They're gonna tell you a little something new over the next couple of weeks, and it was, I believe, about a week and a half or so ago. They dropped the Multistrada V2. Very cool bike, some very cool technology in this, and it's Ducati, so it's always got that upper echelon of, I mean, there's always the good parts been to it, even on their bikes, such as the V2. It's still going to be a great bike with that. The biggest thing that I really like to see out of this is Ducati is going to do these announcements. And on December 9th, they're going to have their biggest one, which is probably going to end up being a Ducati full-on adventure / desert type bike. Multistrada is a great bike. It is a kind of go anywhere bike, but if you get too far off the trail, it is going to punish you. Whereas what you see here on the screen was the prototype / teaser that they released a while back. It is really styled after the Cagiva Elephant. I think they are going to keep some of that styling. I'm really excited to see what Ducati does in this category. Now, granted, everyone is jumping into adventure bikes right now. Ducati has this following that these people that it's just, if it's not Italian, they don't care. And I think those people have been itching for a great adventure bike, and I'm pretty sure Ducati's going to deliver it to them. December 9th is when that announcement comes out. I am excited. You can be sure that I am going to be glued to my computer watching that and having the closed captions on so I can understand the Italian.
Yeah, definitely. And that bike was stunning. However, again, that is a concept, that is a prototype bike. It is not going to look like that, which is always like such a bummer. But fingers crossed that they stayed pretty true to that concept and prototype machine, because it looks the business. It's absolutely beautiful, super cool looking, really
Yes.
trick, really different for Ducati. I don't think it really even looks like a Ducati, to be honest. I think it looks kind of like a modern. It reminds me of the new Husqvarna.
It's
That
funny when you say that because it does kind of harken to that a little bit, but when you realize so many of those bikes, the adventure bikes started when that Cagiva elephant was around, or
yeah,
elephant, however they say it, so to say. It-
Elefanta.
yeah, so it's, I mean, it really kind of started. So they all started with that same mold. I know. I mean, when I've looked at stuff, I mean, remember when the Dival came out? Everyone's like, "It's not a Ducati." Yeah, no, you looked at it, you knew right away it was a Ducati.
Yeah,
They are going to make this very Ducati some way or another. I'm not worried about that. But yeah, I agree with you. It's not going to look the way that concept bike looked, but I think it's going to be recognizable.
yeah, for sure, for sure. Well, thank you so much, Josh. I super appreciate you bringing us some news from Team Green and Ducati. And it was a great show today. What did you think about all that out there, internet fans? Thank you so much for tuning in. We
Yeah.
appreciate you clicking, liking, and sharing all of these videos, vlogs, podcasts, vlogcasts. What are we calling these now? Thank you for sharing all these awesome live streams and
I
shows.
was about to say,
We
this is
are
just an
hoping to be
awesome
back.
live stream.
Yeah, yeah. No, we're hoping to be back every week. We had a little bit of technical snaggles last week, but I think we got it all hammered out. And we're hoping to bring you shows every single week, no matter where we are out there in the world right now. I am in a hotel room down in beautiful Gulf Shores, Alabama. I head home, and then Josh is up in the Akron area, and we just are going to bring you these shows every single week, no matter where we are out here in the world of motorcycling and power sports. This has been Jacqui Van Ham.
I'm Josh Trokey, and I'm going for a ride.
Actually, I am too. We brought a great pair of pit bikes with us, and we're going to go for a ride up to dinner and enjoy our last day of vacation. But we'll catch you guys next week. Thanks for tuning in, everybody.